It was October 12, 2003, when Mark Fisher is discovered dead. He'd been viciously beaten, shot 5 times after withdrawing $20 from a local ATM. His senseless murder immediately sends the New York tabloids into a lather.
This is not your typical murder case. This is a very handsome football player, right, which makes for a nice headline, and sells papers, right?
The tabloids dubbed Fisher's murder the Grid Kid slaying, short for gridiron, the all-American athlete from a well-to-do bucolic New Jersey suburb who somehow found himself too far from home.
They painted Mark Fisher as, the boy next door that was sort of like a lamb that wandered into the den of wolves.
That den, Doreen Giuliano's home. And those wolves? Authorities say some of those kids who show up at her son's after-hours party.
You got a call?
I got a call from John.
And what did he say?
He said, Ma, you need to come home. And I said, is everything okay? And he said, you need to come home.
And so you get home frantic. What's the scene here?
The press was on my lawn.
Already?
Yeah, and detectives were on my porch.
Why hers? Because remember, her son, John Giuca, was the host of that impromptu after-hours party. But Doreen claims there's little to implicate her son. No gun was ever recovered, no fingerprints, no DNA. The only piece of evidence tying Fisher to the Giuca home?
Mark Fisher was found laying on top of what turned out to be your blanket.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
You know, Mark Fisher fell asleep on the sofa. And then in the morning, he took the blanket with him.
She claims that is not nearly enough to implicate her son, John, who was going to college for, of all things, criminal law.
What did he want to do?
Well, initially, he wanted to be a detective.
Ironic.
Yeah, I know.
Besides wanting to get into law enforcement, John had other aspirations as well. He was taking acting classes, and he had actually appeared in School of Rock.
That's Giuca, the wannabe actor pushing past actress Joan Cusack.
We used to call him Shady because he had bleached blonde hair, just like Eminem at the time.
Did he have that kind of rough street vibe that Eminem has?
No. John came from, money, Catholic high school, didn't grow up in the worst area.
It wasn't a trailer park in 8 Mile.
No, it was a Victorian home on Brooklyn,
Give me a sense of the neighborhood.
Old Victorian, historic.
Not your classic New York City neighborhood.
No.
Yeah.
It's off the beaten path.
A little bit. So where did all of your son's friends live in relationship to here?
In these houses.
And it's some of those friends the cops are now keenly interested in. One of them is that boy who supplied the weed, 17-year-old Antonio Russo, a.k.a. Tweed. Police say almost immediately they want to talk to the local pot pusher. Turns out the morning of Fisher's murder, Russo suddenly decides to chop off those trademark locks.
He had dreadlocks that he had cultivated for years. So for him to get them sheared was very suspect. And then he takes off for California a couple of days later.
Police wonder why the sudden disappearing act.
That certainly makes him the prime suspect.
And there's someone else cops are keeping their eye on.
That's Albert Cleary's house.
This is Albert Cleary's house?
Yeah.
Albert Cleary. He's John Giuca's childhood friend who lived just 2 blocks away on Argyle Road. It's just steps away from where police found Mark Fisher's body.
Albert Cleary becomes a prime suspect because he has an active case in the Bronx where he was involved in a pretty vicious beating of a person laying on the ground.
Police say everyone at the party is a person of interest, but with no hard evidence, cops say they're hitting a brick wall.
It became a case of who told who what and when, and everything was hearsay.
The investigation stalls out for days, weeks, and then months. So Mark Fisher's grieving and frustrated parents turn up the heat, offering a reward for any information about their son's death.
It's over a year already. I couldn't imagine anybody, anyone hurting him.
That's when an aggressive rising star, prosecutor Anna Siga Nicolazzi, gets assigned to the case.
We liked working with her. We thought she was a bulldog.
How many people did you interview? Over 100, well over 100.
Nicolazzi employs a tactic often used in organized crime cases, forcing witnesses, including Giuca's friends, to testify before a grand jury. She squeezes those friends to build a narrative.
There were 2 witnesses who said that John Giuca put Russo up to the killing.
First, Albert Cleary, that one-time suspect, now turned state's witness. Then there's Giuca's own girlfriend, Lauren Calciano. Both say Giuca told him he was the one who supplied the gun that killed Mark Fisher.
One of the things that made this case so powerful was that you had his longtime friend, one of his best friends, and his girlfriend at the time, testifying against him for the prosecution.
John Giuca is put on trial for the murder of Mark Fisher, as is that drug dealer who cut off his dreadlocks, Antonio Russo. At trial, prosecutors paint a picture of 2 neighborhood thugs, part of a wannabe gang called the Ghetto Mafia, out to get street cred by scoring a kill.
John was made out to be a young Tony Soprano, and that his crew were like the Sopranos.
I'm the one who calls the shots.
The Ghetto Mafia motive is the crux of the prosecution's case against Doreen's son.
That was a joke, Juju. That was such a joke.
They said that John was the boss or the captain and that you were capos.
Yeah.
Were you a capo?
Well, no, I was a capo, no. I was in college. I was going to school for engineering.
But the prosecutor has an ace up her sleeve, a jailhouse snitch by the name of John Oviedo, who'd approached the ambitious ADA with a story to tell.
He's the last witness. Oviedo meets John Giuca in Rikers Island, and according to Oviedo, John Giuca elaborates on how he killed Mark Fisher.
Oviedo testifies that his prison mate told him that he had pistol whipped Mark Fisher, and then his buddy, Antonio Russo, shot him dead.
This was an extremely dramatic moment at the trial. Nobody saw it coming.
Justice is swift. It takes a jury a day and a half to convict Russo. For Giuca, it's only a matter of hours. Both are found guilty of murder and sentenced to 25 years to life.
What was your reaction to the fact that the jury came back with a verdict in 2 hours?
Something was wrong.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.